3 News Now this week.
Moving now to an early morning fatal crash that we've been following. We're learning that a 40-year-old Omaha woman died in that car accident. Police said a Chevy Tahoe driven by Angela Davis struck a storm drain on Martin Avenue, which caused the vehicle to spin out and strike a retaining wall just after 4 a.m. Davis was partially ejected from that car and pronounced dead on scene. Police say Davis wasn't wearing her seatbelt. The crash remains under investigation. And in other big news, Senator Ben Sasse said in an interview on Friday that President Donald Trump was delighted by Wednesday's chaos in Washington, D.C. that saw rioters battle with law enforcement as they busted into the Capitol building and ransacked it. Now, Sasse believes the president wanted there to be a massive division and goes on to say that Mr. Trump has a, quote, deep brokenness in his soul. In his interview with Hugh Hewitt, Sasse says the following, quote, as this was unfolding on television, Donald Trump was walking around the White House confused about why other people on his team weren't as excited as he was, as you had rioters pushing against Capitol Police trying to get into the building.
Plenty of Americans looking for homes took advantage of low interest rates in 2020, making for a booming market in spite of the pandemic. But what are experts predicting for 2021? Bill Swanson, president of the Omaha Area Board of Realtors, thinks nationally interest rates will remain stable, at or below 3%, something very desirable for potential buyers.
You can buy, depending on your price range, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 more house for the same payment, or you can buy a house that you're comfortable with payments hundreds of dollars less than they would be.
One surprising shift in Omaha, Swanson says, is a busy market for homes costing over $1 million, a trend believed to be tied to the pandemic.
What we're hearing is folks understand that this may happen again, and they want to be ready, and they want to have maybe that oasis for their family to come to.
Locally, the market is starting the year strong, but it's slim pickings citywide.
We are at a low point in inventory for existing homes. If you take out our new construction in our Omaha area, we are sitting at somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 houses for sale. And in my 30-year career, I've never seen it that low.
Megan Bankston, president-elect of the Omaha Area Board of Realtors, says that low inventory could create barriers for those looking for the perfect home.
The tough thing is, especially those first-time home buyers, we just don't have as much inventory to fulfill those buyers' needs.
Despite the low inventory, younger generations are tapping into the market more each year, a trend expected to continue into 2021.
They're out there. They want to get in homes. I think they see the value of owning a home versus renting.
Reporting in Omaha, Danielle Meadows, 3 News Now.
Nebraska Governor Pete Ricketts tweeted on Sunday that flags will fly at half-staff to honor the service and sacrifice of U.S. Capitol Police officers Brian Sicknick and Howard Liebengood, as well as law enforcement across the nation. Liebengood passed away Saturday of an apparent suicide. The 51-year-old officer was a 15-year veteran of the force and was assigned to the department's Senate Division. Sicknick passed away Thursday from injuries he sustained while on duty during Wednesday's assault to Capitol Hill. Sicknick joined the Capitol Police in 2008. He was just 42 years old. Ricketts said flags will fly at half-staff until sunset on January 13th. Police say they responded to a 911 call about an unresponsive child at 7419 La Vista Drive just before 8 p.m. last night. Officers said they found a 1-month-old child dead when they first arrived on scene. The father, Andrew Lowell, was cited for 1 count of misdemeanor child abuse and later released from custody. The child's mother, 25-year-old Sarah Hartman, was booked on 1 count of felony child neglect, resulting in the death. Officers also found a 16-month-old boy safe in a crib at the residence. That child was taken to Children's Hospital for precautionary measures and placed in custody of Protective Services. Now the case remains under investigation. In another infant death, a 19-year-old Fremont man is facing murder charges after allegedly stabbing the child to death. 3 News Now reporter Jessica Edson gives us the details and tells us how neighbors are reacting.
Shortly after 9:30 on Friday night, Fremont police were called to a home near the 1300 block of Missouri Avenue for a report of an unconscious child. When they arrived, they found that a baby, just 4 months old, had been stabbed several times. The child was pronounced dead soon after arriving at Fremont Methodist Health.
And once they arrived, they went into the house and learned from other people in the residence that they actually observed this 19-year-old male with a knife stabbing this 4-month-old infant. And one of the residents were able to wrestle the 19-year-old. They were able to get the knife away, and about that point is when our officers arrived and put him into custody.
Alexander Hernandez of Fremont has been booked on 3 charges: first-degree murder, use of a weapon to commit a felony, and committing child abuse intentionally resulting in death. The relationship of Hernandez to his alleged victim has not yet been released. The heinous act has shaken those who live nearby. Neighbors describe this area as a quiet neighborhood where children are often seen playing and things like this don't happen. Tom Peterson, who has 3 boys of his own, says seeing this tragedy happen so close to home is shocking.
It's eye-opening that, you got that kind of violence and just crazy stuff going on. You never know what's going on in other people's lives. You hope that you never have to hear about those things, so you just want your kids to be safe. So yeah, it's shocking.
Reporting in Fremont, Jessica Edson, 3 News Now.
The crash leaves 1 person dead and 2 others seriously injured. Witnesses tell Omaha police that a minivan was speeding when it ran a red light and collided with a taxi at 24th and Lake Street. Now, the passenger in the taxi was thrown from the car and died. The taxi driver was taken to the hospital with very critical injury. The driver of the minivan is also hospitalized with serious injuries. Police say that driver could face reckless driving charges.
And just weeks after we shared a story with you about a business that had received several complaints for not following Omaha's mask mandate, Omaha police cited the restaurant Wheatfields. We met with OPD about why they tried something new to catch the business breaking the rules. In 5 months, Omaha police have conducted more than 800 mask mandate compliance checks. And in that same time, they've cited 5 businesses. How many calls does it take for you guys to issue a citation if you never actually see them having a problem, but people keep calling and saying it? Because, I mean, you're rolling up in a police car, people might put on their mask right when they see you.
And that's a fair question. The reality is in policing, we need 2 things. We need probable cause that a crime was committed, and the officer has to have some evidence that occurred, and simply having somebody call to be an eyewitness to say, I saw somebody not complying with a mask on something that carries a $25 fine is not sufficient. And people are entitled to due process in this country, so the officer has to witness the violations in order for a citation to be issued.
For the restaurant Wheatfields, it took OPD 11 visits, including several discussions with the owner, and 3 News Now recording the owner and another employee not wearing a mask. That's when police decided to do something different.
I sent a plainclothes officer in up to the window just to look in to see the violations, and then sent uniformed officers in to enforce the mask ordinance and issue citations based on the observations of the other officer.
It's an approach they've never used before in enforcing Omaha's mask mandate.
Again, when we approach a lot of businesses, they see us pull up in cruisers and or uniforms, which probably results in some compliance. But because, again, they had numerous complaints, I decided to take that approach, and ultimately found them not to be in compliance.
According to the police report, on December 11th, officers saw the owner, Ronald Popp, not wearing a mask around the customers, staff, and where they make their food. Do you see yourself doing that in the future with other businesses?
I think it would depend on the circumstances. As a routine matter of operation, no. But again, there's sometimes extenuating circumstances in certain cases where there are tools we can utilize as a law enforcement agency.
Lieutenant Wells says sending an officer somewhere in plain clothes can be dangerous.
What needs to be done carefully in consideration for the officer's safety, manpower. And so because I run a unit where we have multiple other assignments and multiple other responsibilities, it isn't always feasible to be able to do that.
In the end, OPD cited Popp twice for not enforcing the mask mandate and for not wearing a mask. Another employee was also cited for not wearing a mask. Each ticket is $25.
The owner of Wheatfields declined our request for comment. Since those citations, OPD has received at least one more complaint in which officers visited the restaurant, and according to the report, Wheatfields was in compliance at that time. You can see this story and our first report on the complaints about Wheatfields from November on our website, 3newsnow.com. And if you have a story idea, shoot us an email at investigate@3newsnow.com.